After escaping from abductors, he returned her to captivity as she screamed. Using a child, this man called Asif lured her into a trap for vengeance. One evening, Lolly and a child smiled at each other from across the room. Then the little girl came and asked Lolly to play with her, and she ran off as Lolly followed behind. The girl hid in this room and Lolly walked in slowly to lift the curtain and uncover her. That's when someone came from behind and grabbed Lolly. Now Lolly was swinging upside down with a dog watching her when her abductor walked into the room. Asif walked slowly towards her, put some ice in a glass and poured himself a drink, his mind racing with thoughts about how to handle Lolly. And then Asif sat, seeming tired. While thinking deep, he took a sip of his drink. Shortly after, he stood and took another sip of his drink before placing the glass on a nearby table. Asif was still in deep thought while standing next to his victim. Later, two men came in. One laid plastic on the floor beneath Lolly, while the other laid a knife and scissors on the table. Once they were done, they left the room. Lolly was eagerly waiting for the chance to be alone. She started swinging herself in an attempt to take the knife that was on the table. However, it slipped and fell on the floor far from her reach. In frustration, she decided to try and reach the glass of whiskey instead. So she started knocking herself against the table in order to pull the glass closer to the edge. Lolly succeeded and took the glass. A few seconds later, Asif walked back into the room wearing a mean look of anger. While looking at the floor, he crouched down slowly and collected the knife that Lolly had dropped earlier. Then he looked at her as if figuring out whether she's the one that had dropped the knife. However, he hadn't seen that Lolly held a broken glass which she was going to use as a weapon. Asif grabbed Lolly and she thrusted the broken glass into his neck. As he staggered backwards, Lolly lifted herself up and started cutting the rope that tied her legs to the ceiling. Not long afterwards, the rope broke and she fell with a thud. Lolly quickly untied her legs, while Asif struggled to lift himself up from the floor. Once Lolly was free, she hurriedly crawled away and stood to run out of the room. Asif didn't believe that he was going to watch her as she got away. Then Lolly ran downstairs towards the building's exit. Soon afterwards, she emerged from the building and limped slowly into the street. She looked around to see whether a good Samaritan would pass by and help her. That's when a vehicle approached her from behind, and Lolly didn't know whether it was Asif or a good Samaritan. She was scared and confused. A man got out and approached her. As he came closer, a smile of relief showed up on her face because he was her boyfriend. Immediately, Lolly fell into his arms and he carried her back into his car. She felt safe in his arms, but he had returned her back to the captivity of Asif. Turns out, Lolly's boyfriend and Asif were working together. While being held by the hair, Lolly was dragged away while screaming as her boyfriend watched.